They say motherhood is a journey, but let's be honest, sometimes it feels more like a roller coaster with no seatbelt. I bet you're like me, wondering why babies, or teens in my case, don't come with instruction manuals. Welcome to This Incredible Mom Life, the podcast that celebrates the beautiful chaos, quiet wins, messy moments, and everyday miracles of being a mom. I'm your host, Dummy, wellness coach, mom of 3 boys, and a passionate believer that you don't have to live at the mercy of PMS, burnout, or exhaustion. Join me every week as we hear the craziest and most unbelievable mom stories. I'll be sharing the huge accomplishments and triumphs of both our moms and their kids. We'll giggle, cheer on the kids, and discuss obstacles and lessons learned along the way. If you are struggling to be the best mom you can be, how open-minded are you to booking a free call with me? You don't have to live at the mercy of your cycle, and you definitely don't have to do it alone. Give yourself permission to let me be part of your support system. I believe that you weren't meant to just survive motherhood. You were meant to thrive in it. Welcome back to This Incredible Mom Life. We are here for another episode and another super mom. Starting in public accounting, but gravitating to selling financial services and various categories of insurance, Kelley Jensen's journey to marketing director of brain performance technologies began with her son, an autistic man who is now in his 20s. Like most parents of people with disabilities, she reads, researches, tries, analyzes efficacy, then ruthlessly prioritizes the therapies and activities that improve her son's functioning and family life. Brain stimulation helped her family's road to better functioning, and with that, a new career spreading the word about such therapies as an important part of any mental health treatment plan. She advocates for those who struggle with depression, thoughts of suicide, anxiety, OCD, autism, and traumatic brain injury, and is determined to tell the world so that they do not have to wonder, why haven't I heard of this? You can hear her talk more about mental health, autism, and neurodivergence on the podcast Refrigerator Moms. Thank you, Kelley, for taking time out of your day and being here with me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's get started and share with us who you are a mom to.
I am a mom to Bo and Rosalie. Bo is 26 and Rosalie is 24. And my son Bo is a classically autistic, severely autistic, I think would be the best way to describe him. And I was looking for a way to help him, not necessarily for his autism. When he was 22, he was developing quite a hoarding problem associated with obsessive compulsive disorder, and they call it the rigidity of autism, but it really started looking a lot more like OCD. And I Googled, what are treatment options for OCD? Forget about autism. What about OCD? What can I do for that? And I found that transcranial magnetic stimulation is an FDA-approved therapy for OCD. So then I Googled, can autistic people do transcranial magnetic stimulation, which is abbreviated to TMS course? And are there any clinics by me that do TMS for autistic people? Because I wanted somebody that understood, and my son can be very quirky, and, somebody putting a magnet on his forehead was going to be a little bit of an adjustment for him. And so I wanted somebody that had experience with people with autism. And it was an amazing therapy. It was by far the most consequential treatment we've done for him, and it changed all of our lives because now this is what I'm doing full time, is telling everybody about transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Nice. So tell us a story about one of your kids or both of your kids, or
let's see. Probably the greatest story that I can tell about Bo, that's my son's name, related to TMS, is that he had a fascination with elevators. He would have to ride the elevator up and down, up and down, up and down, right? And pressing every button, which is exhausting. And he's a big man. He's 6'4", 220, 30 pounds. And so, a giant man getting in an elevator and pressing every button was always a very harrowing thing for me because I felt like I was explaining it. Plus, I was riding up and down the elevator 20 times. and probably we had just finished his 6-week treatment course, and he walked past an elevator and didn't even go in it, didn't go near it, just went down the escalator instead. It was a moment in time, and the moment where I knew that my whole life was going to change because I was going to, spread the word about this for a long time. But that was a great moment for all of us, and but for the whole family. And I think my husband, myself, my daughter are the only ones that can really appreciate what a difference that was, because we had all had to ride that elevator for 20 minutes up and down, pressing every button. So that is a great story. And my daughter, I have actually on the podcast, which we'll talk about later, I have a whole episode with her about siblings, because siblings of autistic people have a very special road, a very hard road. And she is one of my right hands in advocacy and talking to families about sibling support. So I appreciate all of that we've all went through it, not in vain.
Nice. I too used to ride the elevator with my toddler was obsessed with elevators, so I know
Yeah.
that feeling. We would just go to the mall and ride the elevators for like I don't know how long. So I know that feeling.
Yeah. It stops being cute about age 8, right? So then he's 24, he's riding the elevator, right? But he stopped. He just,
Yeah, but that was his thing.
yeah. So,
All right. Well, tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
so to touch on that, after his treatment, I told my husband we have to get involved in this. This is something different. Nobody knows about it. Transcranial magnetic stimulation is something that's sitting in your insurance plan. It has a CPT code and everything. It is a covered benefit for depression. It is also FDA approved for OCD, for smoking cessation, believe it or not, and migraines. But yet nobody knows about it. It's rarely prescribed.
Nice.
So I knew I had to do something to tell everybody about it. It is off-label for autism, but if you have an autistic person that has a comorbidity of OCD or depression, it is something that they are entitled to. So I needed to be involved. And so we went to the doctor that prescribed TMS for my son, Bo, and we said, geez, how can we be involved? And he said, I just really want to be a doctor. I don't want to be an administrator. I don't want to deal with insurance companies. I don't want to do marketing. I just want to talk to patients. And so we came up with brain performance technologies, and we run the practice for several doctors,
Nice.
so that they can concentrate on being doctors and talking about TMS.
Perfect. So talk about what are some of the traditional treatments that patients with depression or OCD or autism are offered.
So for depression, well, actually for all of the mental health conditions, there are a variety of medication and therapies. A person who is depressed might have cognitive behavioral therapy at their discretion. There's various different ways to do talk therapy, but it's all talk therapy. And an autistic person has a behavioral therapy. Sometimes behavioral therapy, depending on your mental health condition, there are elements of behavioral therapy in talk therapy, but it's all under the umbrella of therapy, working with a therapist, medication, and brain stimulation. Is just not a lot of people know about brain stimulation.
Yes. So talk about what is transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Transcranial magnetic stimulation is a big magnet that delivers. It is a safe version of electroconvulsive therapy, which has always been the gold standard for depression. So I think in the 40s, electric convulsive therapy, they call it. It has kind of all these connotations of, Frankenstein, or, horror movies, or the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But it is the gold standard in depression treatment, but it's invasive. You have to be sedated for it. It's not convenient for patients, and some people respond negatively to the harsh electrical current. So in 2008, a group of scientists developed I'm sorry, no, it was started actually in the 80s, but it was FDA approved in 2008. How to deliver that electrical current safely and non-invasively through a magnet. And that transcranial magnetic stimulation was born. It got its FDA approval for depression in 2008. And it has been around ever since then. And so, yeah, so
Nice.
it's just that. So it delivers magnetic pulses to the scalp, usually here at a certain speed. They call it 30 pulses, but I won't get into the specifics, but it's basically 15 to 20 minutes per session, 5 days a week for 6 weeks. That's sort of the standard transcranial magnetic stimulation. And then as it's evolved, neuroscientists are going much faster than the consumer at, developing different protocols for it. So there's different protocols. Some are EEG guided, some are accelerated. So in our clinic, we offer an EEG guided version of TMS where you're using the EEG to guide where to place the magnet. And then there's an accelerated one that was developed at Stanford. It's called SAINT, Stanford Accelerated Intelligent Neuromodulation Therapy, and it is 50 sessions in 1 week, or 5 days. So 10 sessions a day for 5 days is extremely effective at suicidal ideation, treatment-resistant depression, and usually the way TMS is prescribed by an interventional psychiatrist is it's prescribed after two medications have failed or the side effects of them are too severe. This is something that it would be covered by in those ages 15 and up diagnosed with depression.
Nice. Like many years ago, I think it was probably close to 30 years ago when I was a student, I actually saw an ECT
Uh-huh.
treatment in
Yeah.
my psychiatry rotation. And yeah, we had to go to the OR. The patient was sedated.
Yeah.
And so I know it's a process. Um,
So there's something I like to tell everybody about ECT, and then I'm in no way advocating for it. I have not studied it. It's not what we do in our clinic, but there are instances of autistic people that are struggling with catatonia or that are struggling with serious self-injurious behavior where ECT is done. It's
mhm,
nothing that I can speak to intelligently, but I always like to tell parents that it's out there for them to follow up with. You can go to the National Council on Severe Autism, and they have a nice page about ECT for autism. It is sometimes done, if you have they don't usually do it under 16, that much I know, but somebody that is really hurting themselves,
mhm.
that is something you might consider.
Okay. So talk about the benefits of TMS.
So the benefits of it is it's drug-free and non-invasive. It resets circadian rhythms. So a lot of times people that are having trouble sleeping um, love it because they start sleeping better, and it stimulates the brain. It acts as a conduit for the brain functioning better, and brainwaves being more in sync. So it is just literally brain stimulation. And the benefit of it is that some people need less medication after having done it. It is an alternative to medication for medication that doesn't work for people, and it is effective. And it is covered by insurance, ages 15 and up. It's funny because when I first started the clinic, it was just 2 short years ago, the age requirement was 18 and up, and it's dropped to 15 and up because I think that there is a demand for drug-free alternatives for adolescents. And I'm super glad that the age requirement has dropped. I know there's some talk about it even dropping to age 12, which I think would be amazing. Alternatives to medications are important.
Nice. And you said this was a daily treatment?
5 days a week for 6 weeks is the
Right.
most common covered by insurance. And each session is about 20 minutes. And
Okay.
it doesn't hurt. Um, some patients describe it as like a little tapping on the head. Again, sometimes the speed is adjusted depending on the patient. So a little tapping on their head. Some people get headaches right around, it's usually right about here, and they maybe get a headache for the first couple days. Children have a tendency to get extremely hyper for the first couple days, for the first couple treatments. And some adults get extremely sleepy. So,
Okay.
stimulating the,
So
yeah,
headaches,
sleepiness,
sleepiness, or hyperactivity,
hyperactivity.
possibly.
Yes.
Okay. Are some of the side effects that you could see.
Yes, and I think it's important to have some perspective that it's a sign that the brain is in fact being stimulated, number one. And number two, you know, it's a treatment that you go the distance for. So a little discomfort in the beginning would be expected. But
Right.
just like when you take, rarely just a person start a SSRI and there's not adjustments being made. Maybe that one didn't work, and you try, it's a little bit of trial and error too. So with mental health, there's no 100%. There's no one size fit all. There's no cure. There's only, symptom management and better functioning.
Right. And these symptoms are temporary, right? They do go away.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Are there any contraindications to the procedure?
Yes, there are. It's a magnet, so people can't have a pacemaker. If you have, we have had some. We do a lot of work with vets, and sometimes they have shrapnel in their brain, or in their bodies, and they are not candidates. No metal in your body. Fillings is usually not a problem. Amalgamate and braces is not usually a problem, but metal can be a problem. Pacemakers, um, active seizure disorder can be an issue, and then there's some softer indications that sometimes it's an issue and sometimes it's not. So it's definitely something that you need to see a doctor about, and it has to be prescribed by a doctor who
Right.
will ask you all those questions about your health and what contraindications might be yours.
And you're saying this is pretty widely available.
It is. It is widely available. Not all of the protocols are widely available. So the Stanford one is newer. The only insurance coverage it enjoys widely by policy is Blue Shield of California and the Blue Shield Federal Plan. But that's changing rapidly. So it's not widely covered by insurance. Standard TMS that has been approved since 2008 enjoys the most insurance coverage, and it is pretty much in everybody's plan. Different carriers have different requirements for authorization. So there's something you need to start with your own health plan and ask your doctor about. And you need to ask a psychiatrist uh, that an interventional psychiatrist that has been trained in brain stimulation therapies, because they're not all trained in brain stimulation therapies.
Okay. And your regular psychiatrist can recommend you to an interventional psychiatrist? Is that how it?
Yes, or your regular psychiatrist may work with a clinic like ours. So some of the psychiatrists have affiliations with TMS clinics so that you go to the clinic. You're still a patient of, your psychiatrist, but they don't do it in office. So they refer to a specialist in brain stimulation. But you still would see either a psychiatrist or an interventional psychiatrist to get a prescription for it. If you
Perfect.
were going to go through insurance, if you were paying cash, you would just go straight to the clinic.
Right. Okay. That is great. Lots of useful information there. So now you have a podcast called Refrigerator Mom.
Yes,
Talk about that a little bit.
yes. So I have a good friend who is an editor by trade, and she also has an autistic adult son. And she was helping me edit my website for Brain Performance Technologies, which is our clinic. And we had a patient who is a young girl that had been to college and had had a breakdown in college, and her parents had to come and get her, and a late diagnosis followed, and she was in the clinic doing treatment. And her mom came in to introduce herself and had a complete breakdown and was racked with guilt, and she was crying, and what could I have done differently? How did I miss this? I thought she was just quirky, and she was suffering and it's all my fault, and all of the things that moms feel in those moments. And so we sat with her for about an hour, and we gave her all the advice. We kind of walked her through it all and set her on her way. And then when she left, my friend said, I think we need to do something. That it's not, we have all of it. We've been through so much. We need to do something. And the Refrigerator Moms was born. And we we took a lot of time to think about what we wanted to say, and we picked the name Refrigerator Moms because it is a nod to the day, back in the day when autism was first diagnosed, and the mothers that came before us that took their children for help and were advocating for their children for a better life for their children, and were told that their autism, their child's autism, was their fault, that they were cold mothers, and that they were being a refrigerator mother, and all that they needed to do was warm up to their children. And that was, of course, bad information, and of course, a fallacy. And those women suffered for trying to help their child, and we don't want any mothers to suffer. So we want to create resources for them, and we write research papers on a variety of topics and then we cover them on our own podcasts, and they're all about parenting neurodivergence.
Yeah. So that term actually sounds like it's full of shame and guilt, right?
Yes. So
Initially,
it is our attempt to be irreverent and reclaim
Yes.
the name, right? Because
No, I love that.
Mom is a fierce advocate.
Yes, I love that. But I find it interesting that we used to blame the mothers for, something that was totally out of their control.
Isn't that awful?
Yeah. And I've never heard of that actually. So that's pretty new information to me. All right. Well, I'm sure people have lots of questions. So if anybody is looking to learn more, where can they connect with you?
Well, if you have questions about brain stimulation, I can answer them all day, every day. I love to talk about it. I am on a mission to tell the world about it, to have it be more widely prescribed. You can write to me at ask at 1B as in boy, P as in perfect, T as in Tom.com, 1BPT.com. You can also find our website. And then if you're interested in parenting neurodivergence and want to read some of our papers about, we have all kinds of topics. We have ABA, we have diagnosis, we have medication, we have off-label things to try. You could go to refrigeratormoms.com, and you can also find us in all of the social media that we do these days, right? The Instagram and the Facebook and all of the TikToking.
All of the above.
TikToking.
So I will put all the links to your social media links and the podcast and everything down below so people can find you.
Yes. I wanted to say one other thing, and that is in your work, I know that you work with hormonal changes in mothers and young women, and the SAGE protocol of the transcranial magnetic stimulation is currently undergoing clinical trials for postpartum depression.
There you go.
I know that they are actively recruiting. So if you are a mother that is struggling with postpartum depression and you cannot get a handle on it, I would look into this and the accelerated version, you're a busy mom, right? You're new, you've got a newborn, and so maybe the 1-week course would be better for you, but check it out.
Yeah. So if there's a new mom out there who's struggling with postpartum depression, get in touch with Kelley and she can help you out. I love that. That's a great resource for my new moms. This was really informative. Thank you for joining me today. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for helping me spread the word about this. I want everybody to know about it.
Of course. And as we end, I just wanted to say, if you learned something new today, please send us a DM because we would love to hear from you. And if you need Kelley, she's there and she's willing to help you out.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for everybody for listening.
You will all see me or hear from me next week on This Incredible Mom Life.
Are you struggling to be the best mom you can be? Are you fatigued, overwhelmed, and stressed out? Are you losing precious time with your family because of PMS? If so, sign up for my free gift on how to start living in tune with your monthly cycle. The link to get it is in the show notes below. Use this guide to help you start to eliminate your symptoms of PMS, increase your energy, reduce stress, and fully enjoy this incredible mom life. The way I see it, you have 3 choices. You can try to figure it all out on your own. You can do nothing and stay where you are, or you can get the customized guidance you need to thrive as a mom. The choice is yours. Thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope you learned something from these stories. If you enjoy this show, please make sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast. It really helps this show grow. If you have a mom story you would like to share, click on the link in the description below on becoming a podcast guest. Remember, the content on this podcast is for general information only. It does not replace any medical advice given by your healthcare providers. Please check with your doctor if you have any questions about your specific condition and before starting any new diet or exercise regimen. Thank you, and you will hear from me soon.